Aid for minerals? Inside the Zambia US health talks raising hard questions. What if healthcare funding came with strings attached? As Zambia engages the United States in critical health talks, a deeper question is emerging. Are minerals part of the conversation? Is this standard global diplomacy, or a strategic exchange that could redefine Zambia's future? Tonight, we unpack what's being discussed, what's being denied, and what's quietly being negotiated. Good day, viewers. Welcome to another edition of InspirAfrica Official. I'm Nakash. Well, it's been quite a week here, the kind where you sit back and watch international diplomacy unfold with all its polished speeches and carefully worded press releases. But sometimes, beneath the diplomatic veneer, there are questions that demand to be asked out loud. And today, we're diving into a story that's raising eyebrows across southern Africa and beyond. Imagine this. A nation rich in resources but struggling with healthcare infrastructure. Hospital wards overcrowded, medicines in short supply, maternal mortality rates that keep development experts awake at night. Then comes a powerful ally from across the Atlantic, offering help, offering partnership, offering solutions. Health talks are announced. Delegations convene. Memorandums are drafted. But here's where the story takes a turn that demands our attention. What happens when health assistance negotiations occur in a nation sitting atop some of the world's most coveted mineral deposits? When the country offering aid is the same country whose industries are desperately seeking access to critical minerals for batteries, electronics, and the green energy revolution? When health ministers shake hands while mining executives wait in the wings? Is this simply two nations finding mutual benefit, a partnership where both sides win? Or are we witnessing something more troubling? The commodification of human health, where life-saving assistance comes with an asterisk, a footnote, a price tag denominated not in dollars but in mining concessions? How do you separate genuine humanitarian concern from strategic resource acquisition? And when a nation's minerals become entangled with its citizens' access to healthcare, who truly holds the power in those negotiating rooms? Most urgently. Are we looking at aid, or are we looking at a transaction? And if it's the latter, what does that mean for sovereignty, for dignity, and for the future of African nations sitting on resources the world desperately wants? Factual foundation, background and timeline. The revelation came to light in early January 2026, when the United States and Zambia announced a new round of bilateral health cooperation talks scheduled to take place in Lusaka. Zambia, for context, is a landlocked southern African nation of approximately 20 million people. It's a country with extraordinary mineral wealth. Ranking as Africa's second-largest copper producer and holding significant deposits of cobalt, a critical component in lithium-ion batteries that power everything from smartphones to electric vehicles. The global race for these minerals has intensified dramatically as nations pursue green energy transitions and technological advancement. But Zambia is also a nation facing serious healthcare challenges. According to World Health Organization data, the country struggles with high rates of HIV/AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Maternal mortality stands at approximately 213 deaths per 100,000 live births, far above global targets. Rural areas often lack basic medical facilities, and the doctor-to-patient ratio remains critically low. The United States, through agencies like USAID and the Centers for Disease Control, has maintained health programming in Zambia for years, particularly focused on HIV/AIDS treatment and prevention through the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, known as PEPFAR. However, what's raising questions now is the timing and the broader context. In late 2025, the U.S. government, through the Department of State and Department of Commerce, had intensified its diplomatic engagement with mineral-rich African nations. This was part of a stated strategy to diversify critical mineral supply chains away from heavy dependence on China, which currently dominates global processing of materials like cobalt and rare earth elements. Zambia found itself squarely in the crosshairs of this strategic competition. Chinese companies already hold significant stakes in Zambian copper and cobalt mining operations. The US was looking for entry points, for partnerships, for influence. Then came the health talks announcement in January 2026. On the surface, the agenda was straightforward: discussions about strengthening Zambia's health systems, increasing access to essential medicines, supporting healthcare worker training, and addressing maternal and child health challenges. Press releases from both governments emphasized partnership, shared values, and commitment to improving lives. But investigative journalists and civil society organizations in Zambia began asking questions almost immediately. Why now? Why this particular configuration of delegates, which included not just health officials but also representatives from the U.S. Department of Commerce and the U.S. Trade Representative's Office? And why were parallel meetings being scheduled between U.S. mining industry representatives and Zambian Ministry of Mines officials during the same week as the health talks? By mid-January, leaked documents began circulating among Zambian parliamentarians, preliminary discussion papers that appeared to link expanded U.S. health assistance to Zambian commitments regarding mining sector reforms and improved access for American companies to mineral concessions. The government in Lusaka initially dismissed these as mischaracterizations and incomplete drafts taken out of context. But the questions had been asked. The doubts had been planted. And civil society wasn't backing down. Direct evidence, quotes and testimony. During a press conference in Lusaka on January 15, Zambian Health Minister Dr. Elijah Muchima faced pointed questions from local journalists about the nature of the U.S. health cooperation talks. Journalist: Minister, can you clarify for the Zambian people whether there are any conditions attached to the health assistance being discussed with the United States? Dr. Muchima: well, first let me say that these are exploratory discussions. They are not. They are not negotiations in the sense of contractual obligations. The United States has been a long-standing partner in our health sector, particularly through PEPFAR, and these talks build on that foundation. Journalist: that doesn't answer the question, Minister. Are there conditions related to mining sector access? Dr. Muchima: I can tell you that the health talks are about health. Full stop. Now, it is true that when high-level delegations visit, there are often multiple areas of bilateral interest that get discussed. That's normal diplomacy. But to suggest that our health needs are being bartered for mining concessions, that's simply not accurate. But the minister's assurances did little to quiet growing skepticism, especially after U.S. Ambassador to Zambia, Michael Chen, made comments during a business forum that same week. Ambassador Chen stated, "The United States sees Zambia as a critical partner in multiple domains. Yes, we care deeply about health outcomes and saving lives. But we also recognize that economic development and health are interconnected. A strong mining sector creates jobs, generates government revenue that can be invested in healthcare, and builds the kind of robust economy that sustains health systems long-term." When pressed by reporters about whether mining access was being discussed alongside health cooperation, Ambassador Chen replied, "We have productive conversations with the Zambian government across many sectors. I think it's natural that when you have trust and partnership in one area, that creates opportunities for collaboration in others. Are we interested in minerals? Absolutely, we've been transparent about that. Are we conditioning health aid on mineral access? That's not how we characterize these discussions." Civil society response was swift and sharp. Sarah Mwanza, executive director of the Zambian Center for Health Rights, issued a statement that quickly went viral on social media. "Let's be very clear about what's happening here. The United States comes to Zambia saying they want to help us save lives, reduce maternal deaths, fight HIV and TB. That's wonderful. We need that help. But at the same time, the same US government is pushing for mining deals. So we have to ask, is the health assistance genuine, or is it leverage? Because if a mother dies in childbirth in rural Zambia, her life shouldn't be valued differently depending on whether her government gives favorable mining terms to American companies." Opposition Member of Parliament, Joseph Banda, was even more direct during parliamentary debate on January 20th, "We are being presented with a false choice. They tell us, give us your minerals and we'll help your sick. This is not partnership. This is exploitation dressed in humanitarian language. Our minerals belong to the Zambian people. Our health needs are not bargaining chips." The U.S. State Department released a carefully worded response on January 22. The United States provides health assistance based on need, not on commercial considerations. Our PEPFAR programming has saved countless lives across Africa regardless of any country's mineral resources. We pursue economic partnerships separately, through transparent processes. Any suggestion of quid pro quo is inaccurate and, frankly, offensive to the professionals who dedicate their lives to global health. Yet skepticism remained, fueled by a leaked email that appeared in a Zambian newspaper on January 24. The email, allegedly from a U.S. Commerce Department official to colleagues, stated, "The health angle gives us a valuable opening. Ministers are receptive. We should coordinate messaging so that progress on health MOU coincides with advancement on the mining framework. Optics matter here." When asked about the email's authenticity, U.S. Embassy spokesman declined to confirm or deny, saying only, "We don't comment on alleged internal communications." Deeper analysis, implications and reactions. The Zambia-US health talks controversy illuminates a much larger and more complex issue facing resource-rich African nations in the 21st century, the intersection of humanitarian need, geopolitical competition, and economic leverage. Dr. Kwame Osei, a political economist at the University of Cape Town, provides crucial context. What we're seeing in Zambia is part of a broader pattern. Western nations and China are in fierce competition for African minerals critical to technology and green energy. But direct mineral negotiations can be politically sensitive, they evoke colonial-era resource extraction. So there's an incentive to package mineral access within broader cooperation frameworks, development aid, health assistance, infrastructure investment. It allows both sides to claim win-win outcomes while obscuring the underlying transaction. The ethical questions are profound and unsettling. If health assistance saves lives, does the motivation behind that assistance matter? Dr. Namsa Dlamini, a bioethicist at Johannesburg's Wits University, argues it absolutely does. Healthcare is a human right, not a commodity. The moment we accept that life-saving assistance can be conditional on economic concessions, we've fundamentally corrupted the humanitarian enterprise. It means poor countries' citizens only get help if their governments can offer something valuable in return. That's a deeply disturbing paradigm. However, others see the situation less starkly. Thomas Morrison, former U.S. diplomat and now senior fellow at the Center for Strategic Studies, contends, international relations are inherently transactional. Countries pursue their interests. The U.S. needs minerals, Zambia needs health assistance. If both needs can be met through partnership, that's not exploitation, that's diplomacy. The alternative is that Zambia gets those minerals anyway, likely to China, and the US provides less health assistance because political will depends partly on broader strategic relationships. This pragmatic view has supporters within Zambia's business community. Mining executive Patricia Kalufia stated in a recent interview, "We need investment in our mining sector to modernize, to create jobs, to increase output. If American investment comes with health benefits for our people, how is that bad?" The purists talk about sovereignty, but sovereignty doesn't feed families or cure disease. Yet sovereignty concerns are precisely what animates civil society opposition. The Zambian Council of Churches issued a pastoral letter warning, "We must not mortgage our children's inheritance. Both their mineral wealth and their health needs, in deals that may benefit current officials but burden future generations." History shows that resource extraction agreements signed under pressure rarely favor African nations long-term. Legal experts point out that the actual structure of any eventual agreement will matter enormously. Professor Charles Mulna, constitutional law scholar at the University of Zambia, explains, "If health assistance and mining access are genuinely separate agreements, negotiated on their own merits with distinct timelines and conditions, that's one thing. But if they're explicitly or implicitly linked, if one is contingent on the other, then we have serious questions about whether our government is freely negotiating or operating under duress born of desperate health needs. The ambiguities in this situation are deliberate and strategic. Neither government wants to explicitly confirm linkage, because that would validate critics' concerns. But neither wants to completely separate the issues, because the leverage and incentive structure depends on at least implicit connection. What remains unresolved is whether this model represents the future of North-South relations in a resource-constrained world. Will African nations increasingly face situations where their citizens' welfare becomes entangled with their mineral endowments? And if so, what institutions or frameworks might protect against the most exploitative outcomes? Regional observers are watching closely. Similar dynamics are playing out in the Democratic Republic of Congo with cobalt, in Zimbabwe with lithium, in Tanzania with rare earth elements. The Zambia case may set precedents, for better or worse, that ripple across the continent. One Zambian economist, speaking on condition of anonymity, perhaps captured the dilemma most succinctly. We're stuck between China, which wants our minerals and doesn't pretend it's about anything else, and the West, which wants our minerals but wraps it in the language of partnership and values. At least China's approach is honest. But maybe American health assistance, even with strings attached, still saves more lives than Chinese infrastructure loans that saddle us with debt. How do you choose between complicated options when people are dying now?